Hi there, Ryan with B&W Insurance Group, and today we're going to talk about insurance companies. Are they all the same, or are there some key differences when selecting a insurance company that you should really be aware of? So we're really going to focus today on home and auto insurance companies, right? There's a whole nother conversation about health insurance, but today focus specifically on home and auto. And in the past, those of you who've seen some of my older videos, I've been typically of the opinion that uh, the coverage you choose is far more important than the company that you choose, right? So that means that what you specifically choose to have on your policy is going to dictate how a claim goes and what gets paid out and what doesn't, far more than any specific company that you decide to go with. And traditionally, I feel like that's always been true. However, things have changed in the last 2 or 3 years, and now maybe I don't feel that way anymore. So, what's happened in the industry is that in the last 2 or 3 years, basically since 2022, we have had some record loss years for the insurance industry as a whole. 2022, 2023, and 2024 were all, very high record losses. And that has basically put the insurance industry into what we like to call a hard market. And that means that insurance companies are scrambling. They were losing money and they're trying now not to lose money. And so they can do different things in order to combat that, right? They can obviously raise our insurance rates, which, unless you've been living under a rock, you've been noticing your insurance rates going up, right? They can restrict underwriting to maybe not allow certain types of risks that they deem to be more likely to cause a loss. In the past, I feel like most companies that are decent and reputable have all paid out about the same. Now it's very different, and you can get two very different outcomes on the same claim with different companies. So I want to talk first a little bit about different tiers of insurance in general, because there are three, we'll call it three and a half different tiers of insurance for home and car insurance. So the first tier, we'll call it specialty tier. And those are companies that specialize in covering risks, whether it be for car insurance or home insurance, that no other carrier really wants to do. So it could be that you've had too many accidents or too many tickets on the car insurance side, or maybe you've got a home that is not in great condition, or you've had a couple claims on your home insurance and standard carriers don't want to cover you anymore. That's where you have your non-standard companies. So then the next tier of companies is what we call our standard preferred companies, and those are basically all the companies you've ever heard of out there. So 95% of the carriers will fall within this group. And they're all companies that, for the most part, are fairly reputable or used to be, but they all compete now on price with each other. And you've seen, hundreds of ads, I'm sure, that show how much price plays into their marketing. And when you compete on price, you have to do what you can to keep your prices low in order to attract more customers. And the temptation, of course, is, you keep your prices low by not paying out so much in claims on the backside. And we've seen this. This is what I've seen shift, the most significantly in the last 3 years. Is several of these carriers, and they are some of the largest carriers out there, I won't name names, have started to really be combative when it comes to paying out claims in certain situations. Another tier, and we'll call this tier 2.5, is what we call the super regional carriers, or regional super preferred carriers. And those are going to be companies that they don't insure everywhere in the United States. They typically will have a presence in your home state and maybe two or three other states. So these are going to be companies around here like Mutual of Enumclaw, Pemco, and Grange. Those are, I think, the last three that are based in Washington that are still independent. Most of the other ones have long since been bought up by larger companies. But they stand out because their commitment and focus is definitely still on the client and always has been. And they definitely usually have a much better you're going to have a much better claims experience with one of those companies than you will with some of the other carriers, because they have local adjusters, they built their policy and their mindset um, in a way that helps to protect you, not to protect their bottom line. So that's another subset. And then beyond that, we have kind of we'll call it the private client tier of companies that insure higher value homes and individuals. So people that have homes that are worth more than usually $1 million in replacement value. They qualify for, a higher tier of company. These are companies like Chubb, Cincinnati, Pure. There's a couple of others that operate in Washington, but there's not very many of them. In those companies, you do tend to pay a little bit more to be covered with them, but their policies are written in a way that is very broad and open, and it allows them to cover a lot more things than what your standard insurance company might cover. And they're what I call write the check companies, meaning they're not going to haggle with you over a contractor's bid or a body shop's bid. They're going to cut the check and get you taken care of. And so that would be a great place to be if you qualify, to be with those companies. But that gives you an idea of the spectrum of companies that are available out there. Now, what company is right for you? Well, that really depends on your perspective on insurance. If you're one of the people that just hate insurance and think it's a scam, then by all means go for the cheapest, rate that you can find out there and whatever coverage you feel is appropriate. However, if you are someone that sees value in working with a company that really will take care of you and back you up when you actually have to use them, I would definitely do your research, but steer more towards those regional carriers if you can, or even the private client companies as well, because you're going to have a much better claims experience when that happens. Part of our job as independent agents is to kind of help you make those decisions. Coverage is still important, but I feel like it's my duty to let you know carrier choice is playing a bigger role these days. So I hope that was helpful. Please feel free to comment, reach out to us with any questions that you have, and we'll be happy to help.